Hey everyone, Kyle once again, and welcome back to another movie review. And this time we'll be back to reviewing another, consider an oldies cartoon film, oldies animated film, you could say. Now this was recorded in 1972, but I'm gonna put it as 1973 because that's when it was officially released. So 1973, and it's based on one of the most beloved children's books, which I remember growing up or reading back in elementary school. And I enjoyed the book, and it is still, and to this day, I would still consider it is still a classic book to this day. And let alone considered one of the best children's books as well. From the author of E.B. White. Now, if anyone knows that author, automatically the book that the film is based on, and that is of Charlotte's Web. Yep, considered one of the most beloved children's books, and one of the most classics. And this is the film that was released in 1973, and I like the film. I still do. The film was released in 1973, based on E.B.'s classic book, and I'm not too familiar with the directors though, but the producers though are of Barbera and Hanna, Hanna-Barbera, who created a lot of the classic Cartoon Network shows back in the day. Especially Scooby-Doo, the Flintstones, the Jetsons, Yogi Bear. Was it Johnny? They also did Johnny Quest, I think so too. All the old ones from back in the day. So, yeah, so they helped produce and make this film. And as for the voice cast, Debbie Reynolds, may she rest in peace. Passed away back in 2016, shortly after the death of her daughter, Carrie Fisher. Debbie Reynolds, who voiced Charlotte. She does a good job as Charlotte. May she rest in peace. Henry Gibson, who voices Wilbur, does a good job. Paul Lynde, that's the last name, who voiced Templeton the Rat. He does a good job, and among other supporting cast members, does a good job as well voicing. And the story, and for those who know about the story of Charlotte's Web, we all know the story of how it's told. The story is about a pig named Wilbur, who was raised by he was the runt of the litter, and the father was going to axe him, but Fern, the daughter, she ends up saving Wilbur, raised him for a couple weeks, and eventually, one part where she wanted to stay out. Since it was like a couple weeks, he had to stay outside, right? Until he gets frightened by lightning, and ends up running into Fern's brother's bedroom. And actually, who voiced the brother to Fern, RV, the Fern's older brother RV, is actually voiced by young Danny Bonaducci. Danny Bonaducci, starting from the Partridge Family. I was like, that's Danny Bonaducci from the Partridge Family. For the little voice role he had, he did a fine job. Yeah, Danny Bonaducci. Yeah, and actually another cast member from the Partridge Family also voicing this, Dave Madden, who when Wilbur gets transferred to another farm, there's this ram. And Dave Mann voices that ram. Sort of like the ram kind of thinks like it's like a little bit of a know-it-all, though. But that's voiced by Dave Mann, who is also starring the Partridge Family along with Danny Bonaducci. So when Wilbur gets there, and he ends up befriending a spider named Charlotte. Because he's been sad, lonely, all he wanted was a friend. And Charlotte says, "Hey, I'll be your friend. Chin up, Wilbur. Chin up. Salutations." And Charlotte catching some flies on her web as well. Debbie Reynolds does a fine job as Charlotte, and she wants to figure out a way how to save Wilbur, because the other farmers want to fatten him up, to be sliced up for bacon and ham and all that stuff. So he wants to figure out a way to save his life. And there's also this geese, or this goose, who has hatchlings, and one baby goose being with Wilbur a lot of times. Templeton the rat, he has a hole underneath the thing where the farmer put the slop down there. Likes eating Wilbur's slop, which lets him eat. And one thing leads to another. When times they want to save Wilbur's life, like in the book, Charlotte spins a web, saying terrific, with the help of the animals spell like the word terrific. And everybody starts to see, everybody in the town, the farmers, then the townspeople see the web. They say terrific. And even also to the part where Fern, the daughter, pays Wilbur a visit sometimes, which is kind of funny that she can see the animals are talking. She's communicating to each other, plain English, and just one sort of thing is like, oh, animals are talking. Okay, that's kind of weird. They're talking and I can understand them. And when she goes to tell her family, like, the mother's like, "Oh, can you stop with your imagining things, you're hallucinating or whatever. Go play somewhere else instead of just always visiting the animals." So yeah, so the daughter doesn't find it very weird that she can fully understand and clearly hear the animals talk English. that's kind of a funny thing. So, but And then the next word that Charlotte tells, because she has Templeton have run out and find another good word for Wilbur, and it was next one he pulls it from a carton named Radiant, and the more good word spread of this terrific radiant pig, till when the time comes, the farmer wants to bring Wilbur to the county fair, and he wants Charlotte to be with him. And then it comes a time where she explains that one of the time when they get to the county fair, she lays an egg sack of 514 children, and then she kind of the times come into which. After when Wilbur receives a medal, which it is a very sad scene. It is it is still a very sad scene to this day. To me, it is still very sad. Makes you want to bring a tear to your eye just by watching this one, because Charlotte explains to Wilbur that she. All things live, and things die, though, right? And she's telling him that she will die eventually. She doesn't have any strength anymore. So, before that, Wilbur has Templeton, who was up and already eating all the food leftovers in the fair. Wilbur tells Templeton to get the egg sack and put it back in to take to the farm. And then eventually, when she sings one last song, and then because she's up on the wooden rafters, and all of a sudden she just starts as she's singing her last word, she starts softening her voice, and then just flat out dies. And then Wilbur's reaction is like, Charlotte. That was. I still admit it is still a very sad scene. It is. Just I would consider it is probably a tearjerker, because that is kind of a sad scene when Wilbur's closest friend dies like that, though. But she was trying to teach him that that's how the ways of life and all that, so it had to happen. So Wilbur gets back to the farm. he cares for the egg sac through the winter, and when the spring comes, even when Templeton has a family of his own, and the egg sac hatches and all the spiders, they all fly away, and he was being really sad again, but then there are 3 other spiders, you could say like the runts of the litter, that didn't fly away. They want to stay there, so Wilbur names all 3 of them Joy, Urania, and Nellie. And then all be his friends. And he starts saying the same words to them, like what Charlotte said to him. Like, salutations, chin up. And as the narrator, with the Will Casey have a narrator throughout this whole entire movie, saying that although he's made friends with with her children, though, none of them can ever replace the memory of Charlotte. So yeah. So Charlotte's Web, it's on for 94 minutes. I think it's, well, the only nitpick I have of this movie, is the songs. Now, the songs in this film were not that bad. They were average, though, to me, but to me, they didn't need to make this into a musical. This is me, though, because everything there, each one of them try to get a song in, and I think it made the film go a little bit slow to me. If they didn't do the songs, cut the songs, the film would be much more less the time. It would be much below, at least 80-some minutes. If they just cut out the songs. I mean, they're not bad songs, though, but it just slowed the film down for me. So I think they could just left the songs out of it. Well, except to the one part where Charlotte sings her one last song before she dies. I can deal with that, though, but the rest of it I couldn't. It just slowed the film down for me. And looking up, I guess apparently that E.B. White was still very displeased with the adaptation, and White wrote himself. He wrote, says, the story is interrupted every few minutes so that somebody can sing a jolly song. I didn't care much for jolly songs. The Blue Hill Fair, which I tried to reportedly faithfully in the book, has become a Disney World, with 76 trombones. But that's what you get for getting embroiled in Hollywood. White had previously turned down Disney when they offered to make a film based on his book. According to the film's writers, Earl Hammer Jr., White's wife, who sometimes offered advice and suggestions to filmmakers who would prefer the music of Mozart in the film rather than the music of the Sherman Brothers. So overall, I guess E.B. White, he didn't care for the songs in the film at all. So, at which point, I understand that, because, like I said, the songs are not bad, though, but it just slowed the film down for me. I think I just wish they just could have cut the songs out. It made the film much more shorter and much more faster. I mean, I can leave in the song that Charlotte sings just before she dies. I can leave that in, though, because it made for the scene very sad after she was singing, and then she all of a sudden just goes and dies like that. I'll leave that. I'll keep that song in, but the rest of the songs throughout the whole movie I would just leave out. So at one point I can understand why he didn't care for the songs. So yeah, this is. But other than that, though, I still like the movie. The voice cast does a good job. The animation, where it was back in the day, was how it was for old animation back, like watching the old Disney anime films like Dumbo or Cinderella, Snow White, like the old style of animation for back then. But yeah. But the film I still like. I guess still because the book is still a classic to this day. But other than the songs though, I personally have no problems with the movie other than the songs. Listen, the voice cast: Debbie Reynolds, may she rest in peace. She does a really good job as Charlotte. Henry Gibson as Wilbur does a good job. Paul Lynde as Templeton. Even the other supporting cast members, like I said, Dave Bonaducci as a Fern's brother. Even Dave Madden, who voices the Ram. So yeah, but yeah, and then this came, and then also the later, like was it 2003? They made a sequel right here, which I'll review next. Charlotte's Web 2, The Great Adventure. And they just see with their Charlotte's kids there. So, and get a look for the film. It takes place sometime later. Which I have not seen the sequel though. I have not seen the sequel, but I'll get to though. And then when I review the sequel, I'm gonna I'll be reviewing the 2006 adaptation from Nickelodeon's. Well, it's still Paramount though. But yeah, other than that though, I still like Charlotte's Web. It still is a classic. The book too, and this film as well. So, thanks for watching, and stay tuned on next other review for the sequel, Charlotte's Web: Wilbur's Adventure. Later.